Hello, my name is Othello Emmanuel Clark. I'm one of the sons of Joseph Oswald Clark, whose father was Joseph Adolphus Clark, and Joseph Adolphus Clark, my grandfather, who also father was Joseph Emmanuel Clark. I happen to find out that my great-grandfather, who was Robert Clark, at the time was 35 years old, and his wife, Caroline Clark, was, I guess, 31. They all were on the Cora, the Cora ship that went to Liberia for the Barbados. And I also learned that, he must have been a determined man because he was a carpenter by trade, according to the document. But he was, determined enough to take all three of his kids, with me on that long journey. And I learned my great-grandfather at the time was only 7 years old, who was Joseph Emmanuel Clark. And fortunately, I happen to be named after him because my full name is Othello Emmanuel Clark. So we still got that connection. And then my great-grandfather, Robert Clark, and his wife, Caroline, with the three kids on that Cora, my grandfather and his two siblings, which one was Samuel, Christopher, and Abraham, also were on the ship. And Samuel, I learned, was 10 years of age, and Abraham was only 6 months. So it's a long journey, and I'm happy to introduce myself. At least I've got a little history. I did not know my grandfather, but I knew my grandmother, and we spent a lot of time with my grandmother. My father was born in Crystalville, but we were not born in Crystalville. We were born in Monrovia. But because we were not born in Crystalville, my dad had to go to Crystalville every vacation to spend a vacation with my grandma and my aunt, just so we can learn what, the upriver life was about. And we learned quite a lot because every vacation we had to come to Crystalville and spend the entire vacation with our grandmother. My grandmother was Rebecca Elizabeth Harris Clark. Her maiden name was Harry, but she was married to my grandfather, who was Joseph Adolphus Clark. And Joseph Adolphus was also the pastor of the Reed Memorial United Methodist Church. And my grandmother always told me a story about my grandfather. I didn't get to meet him. I think I was little when he passed. So by the time I got to know myself talking with my grandmother, he wasn't around, but she told me a lot of story about him, that he was a preacher, and he also was the Jester of the Peace in that area. Everybody knew J. Adolphus Clark because he used to, be the Jester of the Peace. Everybody had to take good matter to him, and they say he was a fair justice of the peace. Always, make sure everybody were happy, make sure he had, the kids cut in a way that he was not partial and was not taking no sides. My grandmother also told me about my great-grandfather, who I was named after because coming up, I was a very curious kid. I always asked my grandmother a lot of questions. And I always asked her, Grandma, can you tell me about my grandfather and my other, great-grandparents? She said, and then she started to tell me, she said, oh yeah, I remember about your great-grandfather. I remember a little about him. See, he was a very quiet man. He did not like any noise. He was very quiet and peaceful. The least noise would disturb him. So she used to go visit him. She said he was married before, but his wife died at a certain point, so he was all by himself. And they used to go to visit him. And she said she used to be afraid of him a little bit because he was so, this little noise, he would get annoyed. So, and then she told me another story about him too, saying he was also a preacher. I came to find out, yeah. If I'm not mistaken, he must have been the first or one of the founding preacher of that Reed Memorial United Methodist Church. He was a preacher. My great-grandfather, Joseph Emmanuel Clark, and his son, Joseph Adolphus Clark, were also a pastor of that. Both of them were pastor of Reed Memorial United Methodist Church. But anyway, my grandmother told me a story about my great-grandfather because For the time I was little, I always was tuned into my spiritual path. For some reason, I was always, thinking deep and always, was not too much with all these modernization and technology, but I always was in my, the spiritual path, our human instinct, where we used to be before man developed all these technology, matter of speech and all that. But anyway, for the way I used to feel, I asked Grandma, I said, Grandma, what about my great-grandpa? She said, oh, that was a hell of a man. He was a preacher. And not only that, you see, she told me, and I would never forget that story. She said he knew the day he was going to die. He said he always told the people the day he was going to die, he didn't want nobody drinking rum over his body. As it's already known, the people of River, you have no weight. You gotta be having a little rum and stuff around to keep the people, happy and singing. I used to go there and see them sing sometimes. But anyway, she said my great-grandfather warned his son and told the other family that he didn't want nobody drinking rum over him. And he knew the day, he told them, well, the day I'm going to die, I'm going to let you guys know. And she thought it was a joke. And she told me that story. My brother, I don't think they know about it, but she told me the day my grandfather died, my great-grandfather died, he called the family together, called a congregation, had a little, ceremony, preached his own funeral, and went and lied down in the room and died. I said, you gotta be kidding me. Yeah, she told me that story. Said that old man preached his own funeral and went in the room. He told the boy he was dying that day. He called it and preached his funeral and went and lied down. I was like, okay. I see why so that I feel that kind of way, feel that, I'm so spiritually inclined. I said, maybe he knew he was into with what's going on, and maybe he really knew, because most people don't know. But as I said, maybe it came from my grandfather, but since I was little, I've been a deep thinker. And when people fail to realize the universe is alive, and there's a lot of information you can find for the universe, you know how to tune into it. You can find out things will happen in the future, you can find out things that happen in the past, and you can know something that, presently going on. If you know how to tune into, certain things. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, I used to spend time off the river, and the off river point would tell you, my dad used to tell me that Buddha Dixie had a book, and you got to know certain time when the river was going to rise. And they used to know when the river was going to rise for looking in the dog eye. I know how they used to do that one. They say you can look in the dog eye and you know when, yeah. Like my grandmother used to tell, she could tell the time, would look at the sun and look where the sun was coming from and where the shadow was. And she could always tell the time, what time it was, or even looking at her watch. So those people used to do some amazing things. And I always was curious. And as I said, I asked my grandmother, a lot of questions. My grandmother, Rebecca Clarkey from Clay Ashland. She was from Clay Ashland, her family, because I think her mother was a Jones. But she was more than, raised in Clay Ashland with her mom, folks. And my dad used to tell me how they used to go party. They used to go, look for where the party was. But they had to go to Clay Ashland to party. And what they had to do, they had to swim across that Sephora River. I didn't even know. They would put their clothes on their head, and there's a way they would swim across the Sephora River and put their clothes on and go to Clay Island and dance and have fun and come back, put their clothes on their head and swim back to Christopher. Yeah. So I guess I know how my grandfather met my grandmother. Maybe he used to swim through across the Sephora River because, I know some folks from Clay Island, a child asking, he tell me, oh, tell you other class you're from up the river, and we from down the river. I didn't even know they had up the river bank and down the river bank, but he always told me that, but yeah, my dad told me how they used to swim across. And then my dad told me too, because he be taking her to school, driving us in the car. I always used to be late all the time. So you ain't ready yet? Tell that I knew you could walk to school. I didn't even know you want to be Irish, because I went to be Irish too. And we used to live on Gelley Street, so be at the wall to be area, not too bad, but I had to take all the shotgun pass through Bagley Street and Rattle Street, and then go through, on Carey Street, and then go, that church we were building for I don't know how many years. He said, when I was coming up, because they grew up in the settlement, he said they had to rub, that alcohol. They didn't even have, lotion and all that stuff, the alcohol they would rub on the leg and stuff. They had to rub the school. And you were lit, you would get a whooping for the headmaster, and then when you come home, you get whipping. So like, so he's always tell me, say, you know how lucky I know my dad, you know what y'all did yesterday. You know, I go on my landline, send me running to school, you know. But he was laughing, but if he always was evolving, he was not like, you know, the only time for he could be stuck in that way. But I don't see from my dad, he looked like he wanted to change a little bit. Because he and myself went through an event one time. Because my dad was a jovial person, he always liked to tell a joke. And all the family people used to come around. He used to have, you know, a best friend and Christmas with people. So he used to have a bunch of other people sitting there around and then, you know, drinking a little, you know, whiskey and talking fun and talking joke. I still remember the late Spoil Kipper. He was from Christmas too. But he was my grandfather godson. My grandfather, Joseph Emmanuel Clark, you know, Spoil Kipper was his godson. And you know, back in the day when you was somebody's godson, you were like their own son. And according to my grandmother, she said Spoil Kipper was always at the house. She always was, you know, at her here. My dad grew up together when they were boys. And she said because Spoil Kipper was a funny man. He always had jokes. And my grandma said, oh, Spoil used to make me laugh. From the time he was a little boy, he always made me laugh. And it was a kid I would come to the house and they would have all kind of jokes. And they would be joking. And, you know, I would be sitting there around and I'd be listening to all the little jokes. And then my dad would call me and I said, what all happened here? And then I would tell the joke and everybody would laugh. But I remember Spoil Kipper one time was at our house and one of our cousins, the little Lincoln Brownell, were also there. And one of my dad's favorite friend was always there. He was a traffic judge at the time, the late Godfrey Walker. He was there too. And some Mandingo man driving a taxi cab was driving around the neighborhood and bumped into my dad's car. And those people were sitting there in the house there and said, oh, what Mandingo man in the car? They called that man in the house there. They said, you hear that car? He said, hey, Alan. Mr. Kimba said, don't allow me. Because other people were something. Don't allow me. Because you lie right now, you lie. Your mama didn't lie, I didn't lie, all of y'all can lie. So when you start out, I like you lying already. I mean, it was so funny. They had that poor Mandingo man was so, I mean, they were just making fun of me, you know, but those folks, when they used to get together, then they start singing that little song and stuff. Because Mr. Kim, I used to always like to sing, especially when they go to that wake and stuff. And not even though I wake, they would sit down and sing. He used to let us sing that, Children go what I send thee. You know, I believe I'm going to send them one by one. Oh, Mr. Kim, I will be there. Who was the one? I mean, he used to have action, would be dancing and singing. But he was a military guy who had a boost on it. You know, I said, I mean, they used to have so much fun. When those folks used to gather together, I used to, you know, I really used to enjoy that, you know. I said, Lord, man. And but Mr. Kim, I used to ask one day, he said, how would I send you all? I believe I'm going to send them one by one. And who was the one? Oh, Mr. Kim, the one was a little. I said, before all kind of bullshit, I said, Mr. Kim, he was a fun guy, dude. I mean, they would have so much fun. Yeah, those folks used to really have fun and enjoy themselves. After work, they would relax, you know, and they have a good time. Number one, we had to go to church. I used to like to go to church, and then after church, you know, we had a little food at home. Then we had, you know, most of the time we come home, and my grandma would always have, you know, little food. The church people would come, you know, at our house we had a lot of food, and they be telling all the little stories, and you know, we sit around. And another thing too, I used to learn a lot of stuff in crossover because I was related to the Morrises. The Morris, not the Morrises, the Morris. I think M-U-R-R-Y, Morris, yeah. Nathan Morris and Johnny Morris, they were my cousin. And my dad always, you know, what used to cousin Nathan. When that cousin Nathan was not too far from my grandmother's house. So we spent most of our time to cousin Nathan. And you know, cousin Nathan had how do you call it? A steam mill. Where he used to cut the sugar cane and grind it and turn it to rum. Yeah, we would go on the farm, bring that sugar cane on the picker, and cousin Nathan, son and myself. I mean, we come out to the mill and they would put that cane through the mill and grind it, you know, and turn it to cane juice and all the people. And most of the time, cousin Nathan would take most of his product to Monrovia to that T. Mitchell and Son. You know, they had a big factory down there. They used to make Gordon gin and Gordon, you know, all the different flavors, you know, liquor. And he had a good sale. I mean, he was so well to do. He didn't work for anybody. He was right there and had his own production. And I was way back in the days. I think I was born, in the mid-60s, so now around 60, going to 70. And because they had their own little, establishment with a little distill machine with a big old something. I mean, they had their own. And back in the day, they used to work. They would distill their own rum right there. They would produce it and bottle it, do everything right there. Had their own production going on, in their own way, and they were working. So I read a lot of people are very industrial in that era. My dad also knew how to hunt. My dad was a good hunter. Every time my dad came back, he came with a big old deer. We grew up roasting deer and roasting. We always had a big old deer. Every time my dad came to Christmas, because he said his dad taught him how to hunt too. He used to try, he was trying to teach me, but I never got there, because you had to go in the forest at night and all that to be a hunter. I didn't learn all that. So, yeah, grandma used to make everything almost. She used to make the fan. She used to make those dolly for table, all of those straw, product. That's the way they used to take those pan tacks. Guys used to do it too. I learned how to do it. That's the way you got to strip it, and then it dry, and all those pan tacks when it get dry. She used to make hats. She used to make fan and make table decoration. And grandma used to make her own mattress. She would take those flour bags. They used to buy those flour, and the flour used to carry those cloth bags. She would take all those flour bags and sew it together, and then close it up, and then stuff it with those straw and seal it up. Boom, that's a mattress. It's a good mattress here. We have to come by. Those people make their own mattress here. Everything. My grandma used to make all those things. Yeah. And even the cushion for the chair, in the house, she used to make her own cushion, for the chairs, all of those same straw products. Yeah, I remember my grandma did all those stuff. Yeah. Yeah, she was a teacher at the Christopher school. That Christopher high school they had. Yeah, she was a teacher. She taught there for a long time. Yeah. They used to call her Teacher Beck. She was formerly known in that whole area as Teacher Beck. And not because she was my grandmother, she was a very nice woman. She was very generous. Yeah, she used to do a lot for us, her grandkids. And she loved her a lot. And well, fortunately, we were her only set of grandchildren from my dad. She didn't have no other children but us. And she was a very nice lady. Yeah, she always took good care of her and would give her anything we wanted. Grandma, she really was, a very nice person. At one point, she even bought my father 2 vehicles in the 60s. Yeah, 2 brand new. I don't know if you remember, I was little. They had some cars in that brother called Opel at the time. And my dad said he wanted to go into transportation business. My grandmother bought my dad 2 brand new Opel cars, and we used to run taxi back in the day. Yep. Yeah. She was a very nice lady. Grandma, I don't know. I ain't trying to brag, but grandma had money. Grandma and parents, grandma, I think her grandfather, her great-grandfather was General J.D. Jones. Even as we speak, our family get a lease from Rochester Cinema, Broad Street, where they had Rochester Cinema, that my grandmother family property. My dad was getting that money, and we getting that money. Our children were getting that money, so we still get stuff, for our grandmother. And she left a lot of stuff for her. And then I traced back, and I found my great-great-grandfather, Robert Clark. Okay, let's say the other 2 children he had, but my great-grandfather, which was one of his sons, Joseph Emmanuel Clark, that name, I didn't even understand why my dad named me until Emmanuel. Emmanuel, my middle name, I found a little on my great-grandfather was Joseph Emmanuel. And now, Joseph Emmanuel, my great-grandfather, son is Joseph Adolphus Clark. Joseph Emmanuel's son, Joseph Adolphus Clark. Joseph Adolphus Clark's son, which is my dad, name is Joseph Oswald Clark. Joseph Oswald Clark has my brother that was after me, but he, is deceased now. He was my father junior. He was Joseph Oswald Clark Jr. My older brother is Oswald Edmund Clark. He has a son whose name is Joseph Clark. Me too. My first son that I had, I named after my dad, who named Joseph Oswald Clark III. So we still got the Joseph going on in the family from my great-grandfather time. Everybody almost in the family has, have a Joseph. But according to my brother, he learned my grandfather had a brother who knew was also Robert Clark, but we didn't meet there. But I know the family is somewhere around, and they know the family moved to some other coastal area. But you know, they got the Clark in Sino, they got Clark in Bassett, Buchanan, and we the Clark from Crosserville, you know. So I used to see some other Clark people, so I always used to ask my dad. I said, but Dad, I know the people from Clark for Sino. He said, oh, that's the Clark for Sino. He said, tell me, oh, that's the Clark for Bassett. But during my own, because I told you I was always a curious kid. And I always used to be friendly. And I met a guy one time in my life where I made a friend with. His name was Johnny Clark. And he said he was from Bassett. So I said, oh, the thing my dad used to tell me, oh, those are the Clark from Bassett. But it was on the street, but then Johnny Clark guy. Johnny Clark looked identical, looked like my younger brother was after me, Joseph. They were a twin. I mean, they look identical. I'm like, there gotta be something wrong here. How can your name is Clark? My papa see him from Bassett, and he, you know, and you look jealous of my brother, you know. And then this Johnny Clark started telling me some stories. He said, you know what? That was the same brother children. Some of them decided to go to Sano, somewhere, you know, Bassett, you know what I'm saying? And maybe they just kept all the touch. But that was the same family, we just all spread around, so now we just don't know each other. But from that, I was convinced that guy had to be our family. It's amazing because I know nothing about Samuel Clark, who was my great-grandfather's brother. Even Abraham Clark, I don't know, we don't know anything about that. My grandfather was married before, but his first wife died. My grandmother was my grandfather's second wife. I don't know the name of his first wife, but he had one daughter, my aunt, Victoria Clark Thompson. And she had 3 children. Comfort, my cousin Comfort Thompson, Adolpha Thompson, and Olivia Thompson. Yeah. Personally, I think Olivia, I mean, cousin Comfort, guys, no call Comfort because she way out older than me. I would get smacked. So cousin Comfort lives in Detroit. Cousin Adolpha is in Illinois. And really, Olivia is in, I think, Brussels, somewhere there. But we always talk, we always keep in touch. And we're a very close family, though. All FA kids always came to spend time at our house. We grew up together, or we're always at FA house. So our cousin with their brother and sister, because we really grew up together. We're that close. Yeah. Yeah, Aunt Zenobia, my Aunt Zenobia, she's still in Liberia. She didn't have any kid. And Doris Clark. You know, I think she was once Miss Liberia once upon a time. And I think after graduating from LU, you know, she used to work at the Lamco company, Lamco in Nima. But she had an early, demise. She passed away at an early age. Yeah, she died young. I was still little when she passed, but I used to, I heard a lot about her. I used to be her favorite. She said I was going to be driving her car and all that, but I was still little at the time. Yeah, but during my grandfather wake, I think the Mercedes crowd, representative was there to be, he was supposed to be on guard at the time. And he happened to fall asleep. And I don't know what went on. The lantern fell in the coffin and caught on fire. They said it was a big deal. My little Aunt Dora was still alive at the time. They said she was so upset and she went off on the people. And everybody came and said it was big stuff down there. They had to put that fire on real quick. And everybody was mad. It was a big incident, but everything went on later on, according to, what it was. I heard about that story. I spent most of the time with my cousin Nathan Morris' kids, Royal Morris and Trafino, and my other cousin, Elvira Morris. And we play, we're going to sugarcane farm, bring the sugarcane, we know how to eat that cane, Peter, where I want, tea. And then one day I know that with my cousin who grew up there, like you said, every house had a breadfruit tree. That's why when they be talking about Christmas, they can show that breadfruit. Every house had like my grandmother's house, we had breadfruit tree, we had banana tree, and we had a whole orange orchard in the back. And we had everything almost, a lot of plants were around the house. And plum tree and everything. And while I live with my cousin, man, when that breadfruit fall from the tree, you be the first to set my breadfruit, then the breadfruit is yours. So I would be sitting around with that son boot because we had come from Maria when you go because of it. You say son boot. And Maria would run my breath. I said, what? I said, so yeah, how you gotta do you the first to say your breath. And you know, it's just be funny, but I really used to look forward to go to Christmas for vacation because you know, all of that sitting with all that noise and all that stuff. It used to be so peaceful. And there was a creek right down my grandmother's house. We used to go down the creek, right by the railroad track. We go down to that creek and we'd be all playing swimming in the creek, but we didn't want grandma to know. If grandma found out I was swimming in that creek, you would go pick your own gourd fish. And grandma would not play the swimming. I mean, what about that? They were strong disciplinarian. You would not get away with stuff around there. You couldn't be managed or, you know, disrespectful coming on there. I remember one time my grandma gave me a whooping for something I did. I didn't have my slippers on. Oh my God, I got whooping for that. Was going to take back at 6 o'clock every day. This one day I said, let me take back at 5 o'clock. Take back at 5 o'clock. Grandma came say I was too definite frisky. I got whipping for taking back at 5 o'clock until 6 o'clock. You know what I'm saying? So you got to be walking truck around. You got to be extra careful. And then my grandma whooped me for that. You thinking back, I'm all angry, and I'm just firing up. And I said, I didn't want to stay there. I want to go back to Maria. I want completely. And every night and then, my dad used to drive, you know, up the Christmas while I was there on vacation. And I seen that while I was in the corner. So after my whipping, they put me in the corner. I got to go stay in the corner. And my dad drove down to see grandma and see us. And grandma like, tell your dad what you were seeing now. You're so different than Frisky. You know, grandma used to tell you, I'll do a little bit. So tell your dad what you were seeing. I was like, he said, what you were seeing? He said, oh, you were acting Frisky. And I gave him a little whooping. He told me, you want to go to the bathroom Maria. But dad said, you go, if I come here, I said, oh, so you back? But dad whooped me again. I told me, so I want to go back in that corner. I ain't going back to no Maria. I'm like, oh my God. I mean, they're stuck together, you know, the discipline was not easy, but that made me a better man today. I will tell you that, though. Yeah, so one time my grandmother went to Monrovia, cousin they don't go to town. Sometimes she would come pick grandma up and they would go to Monrovia. And when they go to Monrovia, they be gone for the whole day. And I remember the house opposite my grandmother's house in Christopher on Lemongrass Street. It was Miss Ada. Miss Ada, I know her last name was Holder, Miss Ada Holder. Yeah, Reginald Holder, mom, she had different last name, but Reginald Holder, mother. Reginald Holder. Miss Ada was right across the street. And now my grandma, now in time, she going to Monrovia. I mean, we take our slip up, we'll be acting, you know, from Monrovia now, we're acting all crazy, climbing the tree and jumping. But for some reason, when my grandma get back, everything we did when my grandma was not there, she knew everything. When I don't not sit grandma down and tell grandma, I mean, it was just like grandma was there because grandma would know exactly everything we did. Oh, because I was not here and we get in trouble again. It was Molly, because Molly, my cousin, so you know, be there with my grandmother, Molly June, and Esther Noah, they grew up together. Because Molly used to stay with my grandma most of the time. Molly would tell us, hey, you know about Miss Alla? If you do anything around here, I see. Oh my God. And when my grandmother got in big trouble with Miss Alla, we told her everything we did when she was not, you know, around. So it was no way, and which was good though. Those people, they were like, they had their own neighbor who watched. They were looking for one another, not because your grandparents were not around, you could act all of it, and you know, don't know that they would know about exactly what you were doing. So, you know, it was one good thing about that. They really, you know, stuck together. My father had 6 children. My oldest brother is Oswald Edmund Clark. And then we had a sister after Oswald, but she passed some years ago when Miata Clark, or my sister. And she was next to Oswald. And I'm a fellow Emmanuel Clark, I was next to Miata. And then I had a brother who passed also because, yeah, he passed during his 1990 war, this stuff that went on. You know, he got killed, not really passed away. Because he was really young. And he was looking kind of distant, but he said he didn't want to come. He wanted to stay in Africa. He said he like America. And that same year, 1990, he was supposed to come. And, you know, he got, make sure he saw Arab put this in the shot. You know, it was that crazy down there. Even my dad got killed during the war, during 1990. Yeah. He thought he was safe. As I said, we were born and raised in Monrovia. We had a house in Monrovia, but my dad was always saved because of it. So during that, the crisis, he thought he was saved because of it. So he called himself running away and ran because of it. But as I learned during that 1990 episode, we were not there at the time. They said the rebel that came through the settlement. They came through Johnsonville, because of it, because he was running from Monrovia. I thought the trouble was in Monrovia, but the people already came through that way. And so they came to Crossover and saw him. They said, oh, there's an old government man. He's been working with the government. And my dad worked for the executive manager for the 27 years. He was up to deputy director for SSS. They didn't want for the SSS. And during that coup, that whole tower time, that whole dual time, my dad never worked for the dual government. So it was all that time from 1980 to 1990, the state said he was government man. And that because of that, because he used to work for the government period, the rebel took him to the back of that same creek I told you about. The neighbor in the place told the story. How they took my dad down the creek and tortured him and not killing him down the creek. We don't even know where our dad was buried. So we had 2 victims in the family for that crazy civil war. My younger brother after me, Joseph, was killed in that war. That same year, he was killed somewhere in Peansville because we had another house in Peansville. And he called himself looking for food. And so the rebel just ambushed the whole car where everybody was just crazy. But anyway, my older brother Oswald, my sister after him was Miana, and I was the third, Othello. And then I had a brother, Joseph Oswald Jr., was me after my dad. And then I got another younger brother, Hillary Adolphus. So you know that Adolphus name, we keep all our family names. He's the younger one. Hillary Adolphus was younger than Joseph. He used to live here, but like 20 years ago, he moved back to Liberia. And then my youngest sister, our youngest sister was me after our grandmother, Rebecca Elizabeth. She got all the names. Rebecca Elizabeth Clark Child, she married now, but she was named after my grandmother. So it was the 6 of right now, only 4 are, still around. So and we stay in close contact. My grandmother on my mother's side, her mother didn't come from that sweat era. And we used to go to that sweat era to visit her with the year, but they buried their crack in the family. Then because I went massacre, then got that relationship with me that day. For that sweat era, because they grew up in that sweat mission era there, yeah. My great-great-grandfather, he was really determined to come to Africa, though, to put your babies on the ship. And he was coming, he tell you back, he was coming with a point of no return because he had his wife and all his children, even a 6-month-old baby, and also he was going, and then he was a carpenter too, so he was a trade man. You know what I'm saying? So he already had skills, so he didn't have no problem, making it, and they were building all the free. And it was nothing but forest when they put you across of it. They take that whole forest into a community. Because I know the Padmore from there too. I remember every Sunday we used to watch Free Movie at the townhouse. Because Padmore, they used to own Gabriel and Rella Cinema, so because of that, said they were from Christopher, so we used to watch all those latest movies for free on Sunday. The town hall in Christopher, across the street from my grandma place. The town hall, those Padmore used to make sure every Sunday they show a free movie at the town hall in Christopher for us, the citizens of Christopher. And those are those expensive movies because the Padmore brothers used to own Gabriel and Rella Cinema. And I grew up in Maria to go to Gabriel and Rella the day you had to have money. But we used to watch it for free in Christopher because they were, inhabiting on Christopher. So to show, that was nice though. Every Sunday we used to watch free movie at the town hall. Yeah, I told you the incident was my dad and myself. My dad used to have a lot of friends coming there. So one of his friends was a guy, Mr. Toby. He was out for Christopher with my dad's friend. And when my dad didn't have a conversation, I always sit there around. I used to be the one to joke. My dad would come in to make fun and make jokes, about what the people want to see, how they were acting. So Mr. Toby got to know me. Me and Mr. Toby were friends too. Smart crack, he would call me. I said, I'm Mr. Toby. So then one time my dad, Mr. Toby, got into something in conflict. My dad called and said, not speaking to Mr. Toby. So I asked him, Mr. Toby, smart crack. Mr. Toby got in a little conversation. After our conversation, my dad calls me. I tell him, yeah, Dad. Hey, I go to my dad. He said to me, the man who choose not to be my friend, so you friendly with him? I look at my dad for a long time. I say, you know what, Daddy? Let me be my own friend, be my own enemy. I don't know what happened with you and Mr. Toby. When you and Mr. Toby were friends, Mr. Toby got to know me, and me and Mr. Toby became friends. So what happened when you and Mr. Toby got our friend no more? It got nothing to do with me. My dad looked at me a long time. He said, you know what? You're right. Then he said to me, you lucky how different. He said, if it was my dad, he would never told me I was right. You know what I said? So at that point, I know that my dad was trying to evolve. You know, he didn't want to be, like, make a little different, cheat. Even like me, the way my dad was high on us, I don't know how my kids like that. I went a little soft because, so the discipline was a little bit extra, you know what I'm saying? But, yeah, but he told me that, and he agreed with me that one time. He said, you know what? You raised somebody. Well, my dad, he would never tell me I was raised somebody. You're right. So me and my dad used to go back and forth, we argue a little bit, we put it in, But he was a male principal, though, my dad. Like I said, my dad used to work with before my dad worked with the SSM, my dad used to work with the NBI. NBI, they used to call it back in the day, National Bureau of Investigation. My dad went with a group that went to Israel. My dad was one of the sharpshooters in that bureau. He used to teach at the academy, teach people how to shoot it. Oh, yeah. My dad went to Israel. Scotland Yard, they were well trained because they didn't want to form the SSM. My dad used to work with Toro for like 20 some more years. Everywhere you saw Toro, my dad was right around there. But my mom used to say, whatever money, because she used to start with my mind probably. And on the dream where maybe so Viola G had rising, man, so man, it's on the dream blew and say he shot himself. You know, yeah, yeah. So don't you ever that Irma G, they were down there because the man that made Viola had to bring them up. She had all boys. And so when the rebel then came, did it one who put down our dad or said that man like, but they all were joining the rebel too. And the rebel were recruiting. They said that only June children there, show your dad up. They put when, because nobody know my dad was law enforcement man or work with the government. So somebody in the community had to, point it out. Yep. And so that was only June children. And when I became 18-year-old, my dad sat me down in the chair. He said, "Hello, I said, yeah, hey." He said, "You man now. They ain't got no small man. They ain't got no big man. Man that man. Don't let nobody tell you, say, you're not a man." And that did something with me for years. Something with me, all along, And I was like, okay, my dad, and what he said was right, And as we went on, it was just that different. But as I said, there was a lot of things I learned from my dad. He was very honest. He was not, in fact, the thought he was stupid at one time. While he used to work at the NBI, my dad came across a guy who was smuggling the 20 pieces of diamond. And my dad arrested him. And the guy told my dad, let that split it. You take 10, I take 10. And you go, my dad told that man, no, arrested that man, took that man to the bosses. I thought Christopher Minico was his boss at the time. And they took the evidence in, but everybody who worked there at the FBI at that time said, well, what's wrong with Clark? But because the way he was so honest, my dad was so honest that he never used to try to cut corner. He had a way he had taken those diamonds, but he turned it in. He white, buddy that thought he was crazy. He said, Joe, I kept those diamonds, nobody would have known. But he was a man of integrity. And that's part of me. I've been in the country all the years. I hear people talk about all kind of little trick and fraud. I don't even take part in none of it because the way I was brought up, I'm not one of those lucky guys who would take chances in his illegal stuff and get away. You know what I'm saying? So I don't even do it. And from the way I was brought up, the way my dad was so honest. I got that, principle in me. I'm, very honest and very straightforward with people. I would not, I got so much respect for myself, that's why I respect a lot, I respect people a lot because I don't want nobody to disrespect me. So, you always got to respect to be respected. So, yeah, even my kids, the way I brought my kids up, my kids are my best friends. So when your kids can be your friend with my kids, I'm friend with them, but they still know not to cross me. You know what I say? We're friends, we're cool. We joke, we play. I'm a big old kid myself, and we always, and we get along real fine, but they never were disrespectful, and they always, stay in line. So my mother was Priscilla Johnson Clark. My mother's father was a late Jagaba Johnson. I had my uncle there. My mom's brothers were Edward Johnson and Augustine Johnson. But my uncle there, they deceased now. My two uncles, most of them were here for the state. My other uncle was Augustine Johnson. After he left the state and went to Liberia, they went there after the coup. They went there, during Dota. I got do one of them to help fund the government. And my uncle there, because my mom's father's name was Jagaba Johnson, he was one of the, he was one of the head of Elijah Johnson. But I think his mom was from Kidman era. His mom was, from, so he always stuck with him. He so like that, the Aborigines, value, and he always stuck. He didn't want to have to fund the culture center. He had to live Baltimore. Yeah. S. Jagaba Johnson, doctor. He was a doctor. He had a doctorate degree. Dr. S. Jagaba Johnson was my grandfather, my mother's father. And his two sons, my two uncles, I just talking a little further, but then my other uncle name was Augustine Johnson, my other uncle name was Edward Johnson. But after the coup, they went to their father and said, Dad, we prefer to use your first name for other political reasons. So they changed their name to Edward Jagaba. I think he was one of the associate justices of Liberia before he passed, yeah. And my other uncle, he changed all 20 into Tamaka Jagaba because he wanted to and they had people still doing the whole time, not doing the whole time. They want to hear Johnson name, Clark name, Cooper name. At the time, they didn't want to hear those names. So the guy went and changed and said, they told their father, said, we prefer to use your first name. So my uncle Edward became Edward Jagaba. My uncle Augustine Johnson became Tamaka Jagaba. They two were, I think my uncle Tamaka was special assistant to do, and Uncle Edward was deputy minister for justice one time, and then one time he was one of the associate justice on the Supreme Court. But the both of them are deceased now. Grandfather Jagaba Johnson, he was a descendant from Elijah Johnson. But his mother was from Kidman era. That's why he got his Jagaba name. His mother was one of those, was a lady from Kidman. Yeah. And my mom had other sister, Caroline Johnson and Ivy Johnson. Yeah, with my mom, two other sisters. Lauren Martin, love friend. Oh, I think she was, the secretary there, yeah. I had a first wife. I was married first to Fatima Benjamin. We got one kid, and my present wife is Evelyn Kuhn Clark. Her father was the late, Dr. Thomas Kuhn. I think he just passed in a few days. He was an old school teacher. Fatima and myself were married for like 10 years. We had, we got a daughter. But my present wife, we have no kid, but we've been married for about 40 years, 40 or more years, yeah. I'm an electronic technician. I work with, one of these electronic companies. I've been there for years. But I plan to retire in the next 5 years. I plan to retire. I've been around. And, I'm doing a little project in Liberia. I intend to go back, after I retire. I don't want to stay here and spend all my money here. It'd be too expensive for me. After retirement, I plan to go to Liberia. Because I got all my kids. I had 3 kids before I came to the state. I was living too fast. But all 3 of my kids are already here. And then I had 1 kid while I was here. So all my kids are here. So they all grown, all in school. So I ain't got not too much to worry about. They got to worry about me now. My friend Liberian food. The only thing my wife can cook for me too much that she get tired of it, split pea and gravy. That's my favorite Liberian food. I can never get tired of my split pea and gravy. I usually have my split pea and the gravy before, all at once on the regular, 2 soup at once. Yeah, that's my favorite, split peas and gravy. I will always, cherish it. My wife Jackie for Liberia like a week ago. She was going for a month and a week. And I told her to leave me enough split pea and gravy. I said, I had a big old food. I had enough split pea and gravy. I ate it almost a week. I got tired. I said, no, I don't eat split pea. I ate it too much, but I can never get, sick of it. I always, that always be my favorite. Yeah. We gotta do something in Christmas. all of us, you know, have to do, we gotta go because they say Cruiserweight is so dead. Nobody don't even go there, you know. That's what you're saying. And all the permanent people for Cruiserweight, we gotta, you know, let it know that Cruiserweight was an extraordinary place. We gotta build something there, you know, or do something there, you know. All of us, we can put together and, you know, do something in Cruiserweight at least, so the town can be, you know, dead as it is, you know. It was too many permanent people came for that little time to let it go like that.